ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday, October 27th at 5 p.m. This is the Planning Commission meeting, Carson City. I will call it to order at this time. Please call the roll.
Chair Borders,
Present.
Vice Chair Wiggins, Commissioner Eswine, Commissioner Kilgore, Commissioner Lloyd, Commissioner Perry,
Here.
Commissioner Preston. A quorum's present.
Thank you. Commissioner Eswine, would you lead us in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Members of the public are invited to address the commission at this time and comment on any matter that is relevant to or within the authority of the Planning Commission, including any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. Anybody would like to speak on an item that's not scheduled to be discussed this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to possible action for the approval of the minutes of September 29th, 2021. In discussions with our attorney, we have two members of a four-member group here tonight that will abstain from being able to vote on those minutes. So therefore, do I need a motion to postpone them? Or can we just?
No, you don't need a motion. This is Todd Reese, Deputy DA. You don't need a motion to postpone them. You can simply table them until the next meeting.
All right, well, we'll table this item until the next meeting. LU 2021-0346, discussion and possible action regarding a special use permit to retain the existing billboard on property zone general commercial located at 4440 Highway 50 East, APN 008-281-11. Heather, are you going to do this?
Yes, I'll take
All right.
this. Heather Ferris for the record. The parcel is zoned general commercial and is located on the north side of Highway 50, just south of Empire Ranch Road. The primary business on site is used auto sales. The billboard has been at this location for approximately 15 years. The applicant is requesting to retain the existing billboard at this location. Per the city's standards, a special use permit for a billboard automatically expires 5 years from the date of issuance. The billboard complies with the city's standards, including but not limited to location, height, zoning, spacing between other billboards, sign size, proximity to residential zoning districts, and lighting. We have received one public comment provided to you as late material this evening. The comment notes opposition to the billboard due to the bright lighting on the billboard shining into their residence, views of Job's Peak being blocked, and impacts to property values. The comment also notes that the sign is not in compliance with required landscaping and fencing. In reviewing the lighting, it is in compliance with Division 4.8.3, which allows for billboards to be illuminated if no direct rays of light project into the residence or streets, and the source of light is external to the display surface. The lights associated with this billboard are external to the display surface and directed downward to illuminate the display surface and not adjacent residences. I will note there are several other potential sources of light in the area, however. As we've discussed on numerous occasions, views are not protected. And with regard to fencing was never a requirement associated with this billboard, and landscaping is not typically a requirement associated with signage. The original SUP in 2006 did require landscaping along the right-of-way prior to the billboard receiving final inspection on the building permit. Our records indicate all planning requirements were met, and the billboard was finalized in December of 2006. The landscaping requirement was dropped from the renewal in 2011 and has therefore not been a requirement of this billboard moving forward. The Planning Commission has the authority to approve a special use permit upon making each of the required findings in the affirmative. Staff has made all 7 findings and is recommending approval, subject to the conditions of approval included in your staff report. Ben Cosillo is here representing the project, and I'm available for questions.
Questions for staff? Just a comment, Heather. Having the notes on these pictures is very helpful. And I guess my other question is the one I always ask about billboards, is if this was a new billboard coming to us as the first time, is there anything different that we would do?
It does meet all of the requirements
Okay,
for the billboards.
current requirements.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And you say someone is here for the,
Yes. Ben Cosillo?
Ben? Okay. Are you familiar with the conditions of approval? Would you come forward?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and identify yourself, please, for the record. You can leave it that way.
All right. Benjamin Cosio with Lamar Advertising. I'm the real estate manager.
Okay, and you're familiar with the conditions of approval,
Yes, sir.
and they're acceptable to you?
Yes, sir.
Are there any questions? Yes.
This is for staff. Sina, Commissioner Lloyd speaking. I have a question about how we define glare. Is that defined in the code? Because we say under item 2 on here, on page 4 of the staff report, it says the sign is existing and generates no noise, vibrations, fumes, odors, dust, glare, or physical activity which could have adverse impact on adjacent uses.
I don't believe there's a definition for glare in the code.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I can just ask
Yes.
a question. I actually handled this 5 years ago. When I heard about the glare, I didn't catch that was an issue. I remember 5 years ago, there was a gentleman on Merrimack who had a concern about the light, and I remember going out to his house and looking at the billboard and the light, and they were shielding the light on this billboard. Is that shield still in place? And I guess that's a question for the applicant.
I honestly don't know off the top of my head. I believe so. I don't think we've changed anything on that billboard.
Okay.
They're directional LEDs, so they point straight at the board,
Okay.
directly downward.
All right. Are there any other questions? Comments? All right. Motion?
Sir, I think.
Oh,
we
I'm
need to
sorry,
open
you're
for
right.
public comment.
I beg your pardon. Public comment. I apologize. I wasn't trying to get,
No problem. No problem. My name is Christopher Wickstead, a resident at 2708 Garden Lane in Carson City. Is it Heather, is it? Or Heather? I've got a updated copy of some information for you guys. So I wanted to just comment on this. I did resist the billboard in late 2006 when it was originally considered. It's been a long saga. I'm originally a resident of Carson City since 2001. Been on various boards and whatnot, membership, so forth. So just to give you an idea, been here a long time, contributed to Carson City. The dilemma is that there is a lot of glare from this billboard, and the pictures that you'll see in the document that I provided show like a half beam of glare over my fence that goes along the house. And in addition to that, lights actually point up, not down. And there was a fencing requirement required by Mr. Walt Sullivan in 2006. YESCO at the time, which is clearly not the responsibility of these guys, made a huge deal out of that and fought it and did not complete it properly and had to have 2 certified letters sent to YESCO to have it get done. So in terms of meeting the requirements, originally YESCO never did. It took a battle to get them to do it. And then I guess my other question would be, if you require landscaping at the beginning, why wouldn't you keep it the entire time? So Yeah, that's kind of my overall opposition to the billboard. I mean, in general, I would oppose any billboard in Carson City. I think we're all, residents here, and it's a wonderful town, and I don't think we need them. There's one right by CVS that's blank, and another one right by Nevada Power that's blank. So do we need all these billboards?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question of, I'm sorry, your name again was
Christopher Wickstead.
Chris?
Yeah,
Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you.
Yeah, these pictures are interesting here because I can see. So do you live in that development right behind the road to the north of the billboard? I remember going,
So Merrimack goes next to the billboard.
Yeah.
I'm on Gardner, which is one of the other 7 private drives in Carson City allowed as dirt roads still. Yeah, so I'm behind the car lot and behind the post office on the other side.
and have you ever spoken with the owners of the billboard about the glare here?
I
in
have
the
not.
past?
I have not had a chance to speak with the new owners. I was not aware of their change of ownership other than seeing it on the sign and not really having time to get back to them. My formal complaints in certified letter format, I have copies of in this packet here, if anybody wants to see them. I'm not sure why the records from 2006 about the fence were not present, but I have those records as well. And records that substantiate, like, people from Yesco walking out of meetings and being heavy-handed in the tactics to try and get the thing through. So I don't need to embellish. I'm not here to make a big ruckus about things, but I do think there was opposition to the billboard. There were some things that were slightly different from what was stated, just with all due respect. And, I think I've got a kid to raise in this house. I live in this house. I don't rent it out. So it'd be really nice to have that thing gone. It would improve my property value, and it was never really there in the first place. And I've had to deal with it all these years. And I think there's some concerns here, so.
Do you believe that the light, which I see through a couple of your photos here, could be deflected such that it wouldn't be a problem to you?
I don't know. I mean, if they are LEDs, it does seem like there's some light coming from the billboard because they do turn it off in the morning. It's a lot less. I don't know what time in the day they turn it off, but at some point in the morning, it's off in the morning. So with all honesty, the views I understand. I mean, obviously, we can't go after views, so that's not what I'm really pushing. It does block my view, which is a fact, but it's not obviously a condition of approval or whatever. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Commissioner Lloyd?
I guess this is a question for the applicant. How long does the light stay on?
Depends on the advertiser that's up there, but generally, the longest it'll stay on is from dusk till dawn. It's actually on a photo sensor. So as soon as it's dark enough, the lights will come on automatically. We have a smart link on each one of them. The shortest time is from dusk to midnight.
Did you see these photos?
I did.
What do you think causes that?
I honestly don't know. I haven't seen it at night, and it's really hard to tell from these photos. I don't know if it does it justice.
Well, I'm not asking you to shoot yourself in the foot. I'm just,
Yeah, no, I honestly don't know. I mean, it's pretty light out here. You can still see the clouds in the background on the second photo. So I can't tell if that's fog on the lens. I can't tell if that's, just mist in the, I don't live here, so I don't know what the conditions of that day were.
Okay. All right. Heather?
If I could speak briefly to the fence. So in going back through our records, it looked like the fence was dealt with separately. It was never a condition of approval. However, we do have letters regarding the fence issue, and apparently the Board of Supervisors had instructed staff to obtain an agreement with the property owners, being Mr. Wickstead and the owner of the subject property, Mr. Bauer. And that was specifically with regard to the fencing and then pole lighting that was on Mr. Bauer's property. So pole lighting that was, I believe, to the rear of the subject parcel.
And do you know if that, what happened with that?
As I understand it, they did come to an agreement based on everything in our records. Walt Sullivan, the community development director at the time, had signed off on everything for the sign.
Okay, but the fence agreement was a separate,
It was a separate issue.
and you don't know how that's been resolved.
I'm not clear on that at
Okay.
this time.
Commissioner Lloyd?
This is a question for Heather. Is it possible for us to condition approval with reduced hours of lighting or something?
If you feel that a condition such as that would allow you to make the findings, then yes.
I think initially I'm a little more concerned with, it's out of the scope of what we're talking about tonight, but this agreement about the fence.
So as I understand it, the fence was never a condition of approval
Yes, I understand
associated
that,
with
but
that.
it was,
So,
it's,
and it's not part of what the applicants have control over.
okay. You're right. Sidebar,
Mr. Chairman,
we need to do something. Yes,
I could ask a question.
Commissioner Perry.
Since we've got this map of Mr. Wickstead, can you show us where you live?
Yeah, so do you want me to point it out or step up, or how do you want to do that? I'd be glad to do it however.
Heather's got a pointer there. She's going to
Okay.
move it
I believe
around
that's
and you're
his
going to say,
parcel.
that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
That's it right
Put-
there.
Put your cursor on there again, just to be sure. Yeah, it's like the house right behind
Right
the
there.
roundabout, yeah. So-
Okay.
And the surveyors came out and it was like right at 305 feet or something. It's like right on the edge of the 300, so they had to survey it to make sure.
So you got a billboard there and it has LED lights and those LED lights are pointed down, out towards the billboard, right? On the billboard,
Yes.
in towards the billboard. And it's not at any right angle to your home there. I'm trying to figure out how this light shows up in your front room here, because it looks almost like it's really close and doesn't, I mean, that looks like a long way away.
Yeah, so the slider doors on the back of the house, was actually two of them. My dinner table sits just on the other side of the slider door.
Yeah.
And like, if I even look out the slider door at all, the billboard's like front and center from the dinner table. And so like, it takes up the majority of whatever you see outside the window at night, other than the fence. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's just noticeable. I tried to take a photo to represent it, but a photo, the lens isn't like focusing on the billboard, but like your eyes would. But like if you look outside the window and try and focus on anything out there, the billboard takes the majority of your view. And then the lighting, of course, is very prominent because it's lit up as a sign. So it's like a sign facing my window essentially, albeit not right behind it.
Thank you for the question for the applicant. So can you take a look at this and see, is there some kind of deflecting device that you could put on it to where it won't shine into his door there?
I mean, it's something we could definitely look into, absolutely. I mean, it is pointing in, as you can see from our photos here. It does face down and towards the board. So I don't know if that's just happened to be the copy that was up there, if it was a brighter copy than normal, a darker printed copy. Again, I wasn't there on that day and time, so.
So perhaps we can make a approval contingent upon the applicant meeting with Mr. Wickstead and at night, right?
Mm-hmm.
And seeing if there's some deflector that can be put up there so that it doesn't shine in his back door. That's the only thing I can really think of,
Okay.
You willing to do that?
I'd be willing to go out there and meet with him, yes.
Okay. You willing to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Open.
Do we want to defer this continue this to the December meeting? Allow them,
From my I'll just express my opinion. I don't know the others, but I just as soon approve it with that condition that they go look at it.
Yes.
But, you know,
Commissioner Eswine.
Yeah, if these are LEDs, lights, you should be able to control the luminosity of them with some sort of controller. And it might be, depending on the reflective, the surface of the sign itself shining, reflecting light off of it, you may need to adjust that lighting so that it's not so intense off-site.
I have a question. I don't know how this normally works, but is there a minimum lumen reading? I know with like NDOT for specific signs, especially like casino signs, there's a nit reading that they have to meet where that bright can, certain boards and certain types of signs can only be so bright. Is there something like that with municipal code for Carson City?
I'll have to look.
Because if we meet that already, then there's no reason for us to turn it down if that's already been a set standard, correct? Not that we don't want to take a look and see if there's something that I can do to help you out here, but, we live in,
I'm just posing that as a suggestion.
okay,
That you might be able to, that might be a solution to part of the problem.
absolutely, that's something we can definitely look into.
Because from the photos, it does appear like it's a pretty intense amount of light coming off of your sign onto a adjoining property, which the lighting standards are supposed to address.
Absolutely. And that's where, like I said, I wasn't there. I didn't get to use my camera. So white balance could have been out. Daylight can affect it. Fingerprint smudge on the lens. I mean, small megapixel camera. There's a bunch of different factors that could have made the photo look exactly like this.
Mr. Chairman, I would be, I'd actually like to postpone this until the applicant and the neighbor can at least attempt to address the issues.
Okay. Commissioner Lloyd?
I would agree. I would have a hard time approving it, not knowing that they're actually going to follow through.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, for the
Yes.
benefit of the record, the applicant just alluded to the commission not having the authority to consider the lighting intensity or lumen levels. And just for the record, I don't agree that the commission does not have that authority. I believe you do under the findings for the special use permit, so I just want to be clear on that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Then the difficulty becomes what's the number? It's a-
Understood, but it is within your.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right. It appears to me that the commission is amenable to putting this off until December and letting these gentlemen get together and see if there's a resolution. I don't know that there's any other objections, and again, Heather, I understand that the fence and the other things are moot to this discussion. So, and I'd recommend that you all keep the discussion to the same, the same area of just,
Just the
is
lighting.
it the light?
Okay.
Okay? All right, so can I get a motion then to, Commissioner Eswine, you pressed your button.
I would like to make a motion to continue this item until the planning commission meeting in December.
All right, is there a second? Commissioner Lloyd?
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next month. December. Yeah. Well, it's almost November.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. LU 2021-0344, discussion and possible action regarding a request for a special use permit to allow for a congregate care facility at a residential treatment for the residential treatment of substance abuse on property zone general commercial located at 788 Fairview Drive, APN 009-551-31. Heather?
Thank you. Heather Ferris again for the record. The subject property is zoned general commercial, It's approximately 2.3 acres in size and is developed with a 24,940 square foot building, which was previously used as a charter school, and a 3,000 square foot storage building. The applicant is requesting approval to operate a residential treatment facility for substance abuse per Carson City Municipal Code 18.04.135. A congregate care facility is a conditional use in the general commercial zoning district and therefore requires a special use permit. The proposed facility would house a maximum of 50 clients and will provide treatment services for those clients only. The facility will not be open to non-residents. The facility will allow clients to temporarily reside on site while receiving treatment. It will employ 15 staff members, including a cook, a director, licensed substance abuse counselors, administrative staff, and peer support staff. The facility will provide 24-hour staffing, full meal service, planned and coordinated activities, group therapy, individual therapy, trauma therapy, peer support, and aftercare services. Additionally, the applicant plans to offer the option for children to remain with their mothers while they're receiving treatment. The Planning Commission has the authority to approve a special use permit upon making each of the required findings in the affirmative. Staff has made all 7 findings and is recommending approval subject to the conditions of approval included in the staff report. We did receive one public comment earlier this afternoon. That's been provided to you as late material. The comment does cite concerns with safety and security. I'm available for questions, and the applicant, Jackie Shaw, is here and may wish to address the commission as well.
Any questions for the staff? Mr. Shaw, are you here? Or Ms. Shaw? I'm sorry. My mother is a Jackie. I apologize. Please make sure the green light is on.
Okay,
Have you read the conditions of approval?
we have.
You have not?
We have.
Oh, okay. Do you have any objections to them?
No.
All right. Are there any questions for the applicant? Yes, Commissioner Lloyd?
Just there was we did receive a piece of public comment from this, and I just want you to have state on the record what provisions the facility will have to comply with and to maintain the safety and security of children in the area.
With children in the facility or in the area?
I think that it's suggesting in the area, like the regional surrounding area.
I gotcha. The clients will be within our
Please,
gated.
can you pull that a little bit closer to you?
The residents will be within our gated facility. They will not be allowed outside of that gated facility. We do have 24-hour staff. They will not be allowed outside without staff at any time. And we do have a screening process upon intake for each client that comes in.
This is essentially the same facility we saw before in a
Yes.
different location.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the applicant? Go ahead.
It's not a serious comment, but why are the bathrooms so far from the residential area?
So we ideally would have liked them on the other side, but when that building was built, all the plumbing in that whole building is on that backside of the building. So to be more cost-effective and the slope of the plumbing, everything must stay back in that area.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Is there any comment from the public? Yes, sir. Wait. Let's get you up here. No, sorry.
No, you have to.
We have to get it on the record, on the tape, so
Sir, can you
wait.
identify yourself?
please identify yourself. Okay.
I note in your application that you don't mention the properties across the street or the other side. You're within 500 feet of a city park. and you're directly next door to a ballet store, mostly young girls. That, I'm sure is the reason.
Is your mic?
You mean I got to start over?
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Announce yourself again, because I
Yes.
didn't get your name.
Yes. My name is Bob Waldschmidt, and I own the property across the street and directly to the east of this property. And my concern is, I've had a recent incidents. We have I've found a number of homeless that are in the parking lot. I found needles on the ground. But my son just left Huntington Beach, California. When we bought the house, there were no residential facilities close. When we sold it this summer, there were 3 residential communities within a block. They'd tried to break into his house. They'd broken into other houses. One evening, we were walking down the street, and a car came around the corner of the bend up the street in a Corvette, bounced off 9 cars, came to rest in the middle of the street. 4 people got out and ran down the street. We recognized them. They lived five houses over and down the alley behind his house. I'm concerned. I'm one of the people that might be concerned about security and safety. I was a little concerned when I read, I'm a developer and I build, and so I'm used to the idea that you have to fill in all of the blanks. I was surprised that wasn't mentioned, that there was a young girls' school right next door and a public park 500 feet away.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment? Heather?
As the applicant stated, their security is going to be dealt with by on-site staff. It's going to be gated. And there's state oversight as well for these facilities.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yes, one more.
Commissioner Eswine?
Are the clients, have they been referred by the court, or are these voluntary?
So a majority of the referrals.
Identify yourself, please.
Oh, sorry, I'm Carol Basagoitia. We would be getting referrals from all sorts of entities such as DCFS, the courts, people, hospitals. It'll help with the intent is to help with the overloading of BHS and other hospitals that are overloaded to capacity. So mainly, yeah, we would be getting people that are coming in that already are on their way to sobriety. They're not currently using drugs. Does that make sense? They would just be coming in to finish off their detox and to get clean and sober.
I guess my question is, or my concern is that are any of these individuals considered dangerous by the courts or law enforcement? Or
So we do intend to have a screening process, and we don't plan to accept, because we have children there, there's a certain population that we cannot accept, if you will. So we will be doing a very thorough, it'll be completely background check to make sure that the charges, if they have charges, are not of the nature that would be harmful to children. So yeah, there will be a screening process.
thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Lloyd?
Do you plan on having security on site, like security staff, or is it just staff that is dealing with the security?
So our peers can act as security. Peers play a big role, but they would be monitoring the halls, if they go outside, outside activities. So I guess not like a hired security
Guard per se,
company.
but
But again, they're all screened when they come in. You know.
Okay. Any other questions? Thanks. Discussion? Motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve LU 2021-0344 based on the ability to make the required findings and subject to the conditions of approval included in the staff report.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Perry. Is there a second? Commissioner Eswine seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
LU 2021-0296, discussion and possible action regarding a request for a special use permit to allow for a co-location of a wireless facility on an existing stealth monopine communication tower on property zoned single-family 5-acre located at 5364 Sierra Highlands Drive, APN 007-051-66. Heather. The other Heather.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Heather Manzo for the record. So this is a request to co-locate additional antenna material, both ground-mounted and within the tree line, at a property that is residentially zoned. The subject site is a 5-acre property. However, the lease space for this use is highlighted in yellow. And it's approximately 900 square feet in size on the west side of the property. According to Carson City Municipal Code, to co-locate on an existing facility or for a new facility within a residential zoning district, that would be prohibited unless the Planning Commission were to grant a special use permit. And so in this case, the applicant is making a request to you to allow for the co-location on the site. This view shows where that co-located material would be. It's above the limb line of the monopine tree, and there is some ground equipment that will be installed as well, but it's all within the existing fenced area of the lease space. The applicant has provided a photo simulation, actually a couple of them, so that you can get a visual representation of what it would look like once the equipment is installed. This is the second shot showing the photo simulation. So staff has received one email that I do believe was forwarded to the Planning Commission as late material from the residential property owner. I did speak with the owner yesterday to discuss her concerns. They have purchased a property that had a previous contract between the previous property owner and the original cell provider or wireless provider. So those agreements are already existing, and staff doesn't have the ability, and I don't know if the Planning Commission has any ability to require any modifications to that agreement. Some of the concerns that were raised by the email that was received were related to maintaining the area around the cell facility and where access comes from. Those agreements that are already in place between the previous property owner and the original communications company all outline the terms of the agreement. There's a blanket access across the entire residential property for access to the site, and there is a term in that agreement that states that easements may be modified, but it would be to the expense of the residential property owner should that occur. And that would all be outside of the city's purview. That was a civil contract between two entities outside of our process. So with that said, staff is recommending approval. We were able to make all of the necessary findings. And that concludes my presentation on this. Thank you.
Okay. Is the applicant here? Would you like to come forward, please?
Irina Gardini, project manager at Crown
Wait,
Castle.
is it green?
It is.
All right. I'm sorry. State your name again.
Irina Gardini, project manager at Crown Castle. We own the tower and operate it.
Okay. Are you familiar with the conditions of approval that are in this document?
Yes, I have.
Are they acceptable to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are there any questions for staff? How about for the applicant?
I have a question
Okay.
for either staff or the
All right.
applicant. Is the easement a blanket easement, or is it a dedicated easement on the property? Because I tried to find in the city records the subdivision map for this area, but I couldn't find it, so I don't know whether the easement is on that, or is it a separate easement?
I could answer that, and Irina can probably follow up if you would like. But in reading the terms of the contract, it was a blanket easement and was not specific to a certain location on the site.
Any other questions? Is this y'all's letter?
Yes, sir.
Very condescending.
We have very good legal department.
Well,
That
it's very
assists with all the-
condescending when you want to have people be on your side instead of against you. Is it possible for you to use the easement road from the west side of the property instead of driving through the property for your installations?
I have talked to the operations team who manages the cell site, and
Yeah.
they responded the following. The operations created a routine maintenance ticket to work with Crown Castle Real Estate and the landlord to determine if the alternate access road to the west is viable option for commercial vehicles and man lifts. Currently, the alternate access road from the west is not accessible to the tower site. Financial commitment required to upgrade first 500 feet from street approach and build last 100 feet to the tower site in accordance with Crown Castle site installation standards. And with that, we're willing to work with our landowner in the future. However, the request is not relevant to this request. This is an eligible facility request, and we're covered under 6409 federal law, which just streamlines and mandates approval for a simple collocation on the cell site that is already existing. So this is just a separate issue, and Crown Castle takes responsibility for reaching out to our landowner and address the concerns.
Okay. How about, Heather, how about a defensible fire space? How do we make sure that the 900 square feet that the tower's located on stays clear and away from, because it's right in the middle of the forest? Is there anything we can do about making sure that it's defensible, that they've cleared that area of the brush?
I would like to defer that to either our legal team or possibly the planning manager, if
Okay.
you want to give me a moment.
All right? Either or both.
Heather Ferris for the record. So perhaps Todd has a different opinion than I do, but I think it's challenging because this is a simple co-location.
Yeah.
Um,
It's an easier discussion if you own the tower.
Right, if it's a new facility
Yep.
and not a co-location, it would be a different discussion. But I think because it's a co-location, the co-location isn't really triggering the need for that. The tower exists.
Okay. Is there anything?
And
Yes, sir.
this is Todd Reese, Deputy DA. And to echo that, I would recommend focusing on what Heather just said. As the applicant mentioned, there is federal law that says that state and local governments can't deny requests to modify wireless equipment so long as the modification does not substantially change the physical dimensions of the tower or the facility. And my understanding from the applicant, I believe, is that that's what they're suggesting to you, is that their co-location would not change the dimension of the tower or the facilities.
Okay. Is it appropriate for us at some other time then to talk to the owner of the tower about defensible space and that kind of thing? Not necessarily the planning commission, but maybe the city or the fire marshal or somebody. It just seems like you know, we damn near burned down half of California and Nevada this year. And-
I understand your concern. There, you know, due to the federal oversight in this area, I'm not prepared to give you a definitive answer. However, I can certainly say that that's something that, you know, if it's a concern, either the, you know, fire marshal or the planning department and code enforcement could look into it. It may also be a function of the agreements with the landowner or landlord as well. And I'm certainly not up to speed at this point on any agreements with the landlord.
Well, and I certainly don't want us to get in the middle of that.
Right.
Mr.
Oh.
Chair, I was just going to remind you, two things. One, there is the findings whether or not it would be detrimental to public health, safety, convenience, and welfare. So obviously, whenever you have a project and you're concerned about fire, you can utilize that. And I understand, given the scope of this project, that's probably not in play. I also want to remind the commission, we have looked at defensible space in the past. And the fire marshal, when he's in one of the wild urban interface zones, will often have conditions of approval that are very specific to defensible space. So it's not something that the staff's not, we don't need to use it frequently, but it is something that we have brought to this commission,
Okay. And is this property in that zone?
most likely.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other discussion? Mr. Lloyd?
I think this question's for staff, but did the fire department review this
Yeah,
application? They did?
says so.
Yes, they did. And I think, you know, because the scope of work is really the co-location rather than a new facility, all of the existing lease space is improved. It's just the interior that is being proposed for additional equipment and antenna.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a
All right. Public
comment.
comment?
Can I make a comment?
No, public comment. I need to have public comment. Yes, sir.
Can I take off this?
Sure.
Thank you. My name is George Tarango. I'm the owner of the property.
Okay.
I have been the owner of this property for about 4 months now. When I bought the property, I understood the tower was there and that a portion of land was leased to the owner of the communication tower. And that there were 2 easements, an access easement and a utility easement. The access easement was granted to the communication tower. The utility easement is there for utility company like Nevada Energy for their use. The road is the same for both easements. It starts at the east side of the property from Sierra Highland Drive to the west side of the property to Golf Course Drive. The communication tower is accessible from both sides, yet the operator and its contractors choose to access the tower from Sierra Highland Drive. On the west side, it is accessible. I don't know why they're saying that it's not. There's a 5-foot slope that it can easily be leveled down as a ramp for them to access the property. I am here today because originally I had some questions concerned regarding the accessibility, liability, maintenance, and privacy to the road leading to the tower. How much maintenance have they done? None. But they continue using their heavy equipment through the private road and making it wearable if potholes and so on. They don't clear the brush where their vehicles go through, and it is accessible for fires, and that was my main concern. I am here today because originally I had some questions regarding, like I said, accessibility. But after further thought, as I understand the original lease agreement, which I have here, that was done between the landowner and T6 Unisom Site Management in 2010 was that there would be a satellite tower erected on the property, and an enclosure approximately 15 by 30 would house it, and a little extra if needed. Also, that the access easement within the property would be used for access by the grantee. What I don't see in the original lease agreement is that the grantee would be able to sublease the tower space to every Tom, Dick, and Harry and their contractors, making my now property a freeway or a revolving door of traffic in and out of the property. When is enough enough? How many more subleases are there going to be permitted? Do I have a say-so on this? I want to go on the record today that I don't want to have any more vehicles use my property as access to the tower, and to let all know that at this point in time, considering the lease agreement, that when the pre-agreed date is up, I will not be renewing the lease and will request the tower to be removed. Thank you.
Okay. When is the lease up?
I believe in 13 years. It was a long-term lease that was made up by the then owner, like I said, and
Are you receiving the revenue now?
I don't receive any revenue at all.
Okay.
They don't maintain any snow removal, no fire
right.
guarding, anything. I don't,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Well, the legal agreement between the property owners and the tower company is not of our concern. So, I might suggest that they get together and try and resolve that issue. It's not something we can do here, so, I feel for you, sir, but I don't think we can help you.
And I just would like respectfully to add that we hear the concerns, and we have a separate team that works with landlords. There is a hotline that I can provide you contacts with. and
Ma'am?
You can share all
Can't
your
hear you.
concerns.
We can't hear you. You're gonna have to
Okay,
move that
I'll-
closer.
Sure. I was saying that we have a separate team that is responsible for maintaining all the leases and relationship with the landlord. I'm not on that team. I'm just representing this 6409 project, but I can provide our landlord with the line and email addresses of people who can help with addressing all the concerns related. They're
Well,
just
then-
not related to this project.
Yeah, I think it's probably be helpful if you guys got together after this meeting and
The problem is that prior to this meeting and before all this, me and my wife, we didn't know that they were going to put in more and they're going to have more vehicles. Right now, AT&T's there, T-Mobile is there, and now apparently someone else. Everybody goes in there. They have contractors that goes in there. We try to get information from a lot of different, I believe my wife spoke to you also, with a lot of different people, and it's very, very vague. The agreement is very, very vague. It doesn't specify anything. And when we ask Crown Mobile for information, we get the runaround or we don't get responses back.
Okay.
So,
well, and again, I feel for you, but that's your legal issue, not ours, I think. And the lady, Irina, I'm sorry, has said that they'll sit and try and work with you. So I think you've made some progress.
okay.
All right. Is there any other discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
So I would, for Mr. Tarango, just mention, with regard to your concern on fire, any resident of the municipality of Carson City can call and request the fire marshal to come and do an inspection of, around your house, or over here at this industrial facility, if you have concerns about there being a genset there with fuels in it and no secondary containment or something like that.
Right.
And they will actually do a report for you, which gives you a legal document. I've had it done at my own house, and, they've told me, you need to cut these trees down away from your house, you need to clear this out because you have, in fact, I had to do that in order to prove to my insurance company. So
Right.
there's a mechanism that you can use within the city to help you determine if it is properly fire protected.
Yeah, like I said, I just bought this property about 4 months ago, and the property had been neglected. Nobody had done any work on it. There's a lot of dry brush. Right now, obviously snow's there, right? And it's very wet, but it's very dry. And our concern is after seeing the fires that hit Nevada here, that something could happen because these vehicles, contractors are going in there. We found evidence of smoking there. So I don't have the liability to have anybody else come into my property. They either get hurt or they start a fire. Am I going to be responsible for that? Or are they going to be responsible for it?
I don't know, but
When we ask them to provide a liability insurance to see, all of a sudden it's like, well, we don't know. We don't know. So that's where we're at.
you can ask the fire marshal to do an inspection.
Yeah, and it sounds like the fire department they wrote a note there that they've looked at the property. Because
No, they haven't looked at the property.
at the property around the tower.
No,
No.
I haven't said that they did that. I've said
Oh,
that
okay.
they reviewed the application.
Yeah, so the dry brush is very close to the enclosure. They don't clear it up, and then when there is potential of power outages, they bring in these air compressors that they put outside the enclosure, and they run them to obviously power their tower. Well, it's outside the enclosure, and it's out in the dry brush. So that is my concern.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Perry? Oh, all right.
Yeah, and
Any other-
I'll get with them. I mean, it's not so hard. I mean, I'm not asking them to clear my whole property. I'm asking them to keep maybe a 20-foot radius around the enclosure, so that when they bring that equipment, it doesn't have a potential of fire.
All right. All right. Any other public comment? All right. Is there a motion in our future? Any discussion?
An interesting issue over who's legally responsible for various things, but be that as it may, it's property owner's requirement. I will move to approve special use permit LU-2021-0296 based on the ability to make all findings and subject to the conditions of approval contained in the staff report.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Perry seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. LU 2021-0345, discussion and possible action regarding a special use permit for outdoor storage accessory to personal storage within an enclosed building on property zone general commercial located at the southeast corner of College Parkway and Sherman Lane. APN 008-291-05. Heather?
Thank you again, Heather Manzo, for the record. This is a request for a special use permit for outdoor storage in the form of RV and boat storage on a property directly to the north of the Maverick station off of Highway 50 East. The portion of the project that's proposed with this development is just over 4 acres in size and is on the south side of Sherman. With this request, about half of the western portion of the site would be utilized to construct the office and personal storage buildings. The special use permit is most particularly related to the eastern portion of the property that's proposed for the outdoor storage. With this request, we are recommending a condition to require the entire site to meet the standards that are contained in the design standards for personal storage. What this would include is 20 feet minimum landscaping wherever the property is adjacent to residential zoning. So in this case, 20 feet minimum would be required on the west side as well as the northern side of the site. The applicant is also proposing a decorative wall between the landscape area and their subject site. It will surround the entire use except for the office building and customer parking area. So with that, I have received about 4 inquiries, general questions mainly. There is one resident who provided an email, which was included in your late materials. And I did speak with a member of the public this evening that lives across the street. Some of the generally it was questions related to lighting, building height, the landscaping, and potential building color of the proposed use. Staff was able to make all of the required conditions and is recommending approval, and the applicant is present for presentation too, if you wish. That concludes my presentation.
Questions for staff? Hearing none, is the applicant here?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Rocky Joy, and I'm a broker with NEI Alliance. I represent the applicant on this project. The engineer and the applicant are both available via text if we need them.
All right.
But I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are you familiar with the conditions of approval?
Yes, I am.
And they're acceptable?
They are acceptable.
Okay. I think I had a question, Heather, about the timing of the parcel map. Right now, this is one large parcel, including the Maverick Market and the whole thing.
Correct.
And we're basically going to carve a parcel out for this.
That is correct. They have a application in separately for the map that will be submitted.
Okay.
And that,
And it corresponds to what,
correct.
okay. I got it answered. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant?
How high are the units going to be?
They're going to be 12 and a half feet high. And Clarice, who was one of the concerned neighbors in the audience, she'd spoke with me privately outside. I'd explained to her the height of the buildings and that the wall would be constructed as outlined in the staff report. And the coloring, which would be a light brown, neutral colors. She seemed very comfortable with all that and had withdrew any concerns. So.
Any other questions for the applicant? Nope. How about in the public? Nope. This is about a year construction? About a year construction?
Probably it would be about at least 9 months.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve LU 2021-0345 based on findings and subject to conditions of approval contained in the staff report.
Okay, is there a second? Commissioner Lloyd gets to second this. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Joy.
Thank you, Commissioners. And I'd like to compliment staff also on doing a very good job on the application and the packet for the Commissioners.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Staff report.
Reminder, your next.
Grand Poobah Hope.
Hope Sullivan, Community Development Director. Your next meeting is going to be on a Tuesday. It's Tuesday, November 16th. It starts at 3:30, so not 5 o'clock, 3:30. At that meeting, you'll have a special use permit for the chiller. You'll have 3 zoning map amendments and 1 master plan amendment. They're all associated with the annual master plan update. So they're all things you've seen before and you identified as map corrections. And we will be having the public hearing on the Title 18 amendments. So I'll work with the chair and Heather, and we'll figure out what order you'd like things in, because I know the chair has a tight schedule that night.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I ask a question of Hope real quick? This is Sina. I will not be here. Is there any way for me to attend online?
We can look into having you be able to either do it that way or via telephone.
Are there any commissioner reports or comments?
Just a question, the time of, that's November 16th at what time?
3:30.
3:30.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is that it? You got it?
Yeah, I was just going to comment, the note that you sent out says 5 o'clock, so you may want to go back, because that's what's showing on my planning commission meeting, accepted time and date with all the invitations that were sent out, so.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know something got sent out, but we'll send a replacement out.
The public is invited at this time to comment on and discuss any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of the Planning Commission, including any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. No action may be taken on matters raised under this item of the agenda. Is there any other public comment? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. Second? Thank you all for coming.